So one of the unfortunate things with streaming equipment is a lot of times it gets treated as gaming equipment and it gets developed as such. So aside from all the RGB lights, you get a bunch of extra features and what you actually bought it for maybe isn't so great in the end. And I think a lot of streamers have caught on to this, which is why they've started purchasing broadcast equipment. So, you see mics like the Shure SM7B and proper lighting and high-end mirrorless cameras. Now, one of the final pieces to the perfect streaming setup is a set of headphones, especially if you're a gaming streamer. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. We're going to talk about what are the best headphones for streaming and do they really make a difference? All right, so let's get straight to the point. The best headphones for streaming are the Sennheiser HD800S, and not only are they the best headphones for streaming, they're also the best headphones for gaming, especially if you're playing FPS games and positional audio is important. They're also really good for content creation because these are reference headphones, so they're meant for audio mixing and basically post-production. But every tool needs to serve a purpose, so do these things actually make things better? So what makes these the best? Well, I think there's two important factors for any headphone. The first is imaging. So imaging is like an audiophile term, but basically it gives you a clear perspective or clear detail of where something is. So, the guitar is here, the cowbell's here, the hi-hats are here, the vocalist is right in front. And this is helpful in gaming, especially FPS shooters, so you can basically hear where you're getting shot from. It's not going to make you a better player per se, but it's a nice to have. But the most important thing is the comfort. So if you're streaming, you're wearing headphones for a long period of time, you don't want it to get fatiguing or exhausting. So the good thing about these is they're very lightweight, like they kind of disappear on your head. The ear cups are quite big, so it doesn't ever feel like it's crushing your ears, at least with my ears, and I feel like my ears are maybe a little bit bigger than average. And there's not that much clamp force. Like clamp force, it can feel like it's crushing your head after a while, so that can get quite uncomfortable, but these Sennheisers don't have that. It's very light. And the actual padding on the headband and the ears, the top part is nice. It doesn't feel like it's smushing into your head. And the actual ear cups, it's not super thick, but it's a nice soft texture, so it doesn't get scratchy. You can get aftermarket pads if you want more padding or you want to change the sound signature. Now, the reason why the headphone is so light is because it's mostly made of plastic. Now, that can seem cheap, and I mentioned that in other videos, but it's a quite solid plastic. It feels robust. Now, I haven't done any drop tests. I'm sure another brave YouTuber could do that. But it feels like, this is not going to break or crumple under your hands. Although on the ear cups, there's like this almost thin aluminum thing that I'm kind of scared you could just puncture quite easily. But otherwise, they seem built pretty well and like they'll hold up over time. All right, so let's talk about the bad. And the bad straight up is the cost of entry for these headphones. So the headphones themselves can cost $1,700, but once you buy the headphones, it's not like these are just plug and play headphones like a gaming headset. No, you can't plug them into your computer. You'll get no audio. They need a proper amplifier. So you'll need an amplifier that can drive these, and you can't buy the cheapest one possible. You have to buy a solid one like the THX789, which is around $200-300, depending if it's on sale or not. So you need to buy a solid amplifier, and by that point in time, you should also probably buy a DAC to feed into the amplifier, and then you can finally get going. Now, while you're at it, these actually come with a really long cable. So these come with both a 1/4 inch and a 4.4 millimeter Pentagon balance cable. Now, if you want the best out of it, you want to use the balance cable. But if you bought something like the THX, then that only has an XLR out for its balance. So then you got to buy a converter for the 4.4 millimeter, or you buy a amplifier like a A90 from Topping that will have that balanced output. So the long cable is fine, especially if you're like a Just Dance streamer or something like that. But if you want a shorter one, then you got to buy aftermarket cables, and those can be quite pricey as well. So at every point of using this headphone, there's an extra cost or an extra thing that you need to buy to really get the full potential out of them. So, like I said, this is a really costly endeavor, and the only reason why I picked up my own set was because there was a massive sale going on, and I just got really lucky that I got them for the price that I did. But there's actually an alternative that checks many of the same boxes at about one third of the price, which is the Beyerdynamic DT1990 Pros. I used to have these headphones myself, so they're great. They come with pads that you can switch between if you want more bass or more analytical. They're reference class, they're good for mixing. They're not quite as comfortable as the HD800 and they're a bit heavier, but they're manageable. You just gotta pop them off a few times. And a lot of popular streamers use them. They've been starting to discover these and pick these up. So these are a really good option to pick up if you kind of want to dip your toes into hi-fi audio and also like really good sound quality. Like these will probably be the only headphones you need to buy if you're happy with the sound. So then we go back to the original question. Are these the best headphones for gaming and streaming? Yes, they are. Do they make a big difference? Well, if you're playing FPS games, if you're going to be editing your content, doing any post-production work, yes, they do. They'll be great. If you're streaming for really long periods of time, they'll help as well. Now, some people say that some of the higher levels, the treble can be a bit sharp and can be a bit fatiguing after a while. I mean, that's mainly if you're listening to music. I haven't really had that same problem listening to these, and you can always EQ them as well. Are they essential to your streaming setup? Well, if you're thinking about what you should buy next for your setup, I would say definitely headphones should be at the very, very end out of all of it. You know, unless you're listening to a lot of content on your computer, watching movies, you know, listening to a lot of music, then maybe bump them up. But these should come way after lights, cameras, microphones. Maybe you even need to buy a couple computers before you get these. So these are at the very end, but they're quite a nice luxury to have. And I've had fun using them, especially for streaming. But if you have any questions about these headphones and what amps you should use them with, you know, how to get the most out of them, you know, how do they feel, anything like that, let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching. Do like and subscribe to the channel. It's been really fun getting together and doing some videos on headphones. It's been a hobby of mine for the past years, but I haven't talked about it too much because I felt like I needed to get a bit more experience in what different headphones do and what they're like. But see you next time. Take care out there.